In this homework example, we're going to look at applications of integer subtraction. Let's read the instructions. Represent the application problem using subtraction in symbolic form and evaluate. Place all negative numbers in the symbolic form in parentheses. Then there's another note. Make sure you use a subtraction statement even though an addition statement may apply as well. So in the first example, it says Don had $2 in his checking account and wrote a check for $8. Write a symbolic expression using subtraction that represents this problem. So he started with 2, and then you would subtract off 8 because he wrote a check for $8. So that's going to take $8 out of his checking account. So notice neither of these numbers are negative. Okay, we have 2 and we're subtracting a positive 8. And then to find what his balance is, we would compute this answer. So 2 minus 8 is the same as 2 plus negative 8, which is negative 6. Let's look at the next one. Carlos lowers the temperature of his freezer by 15 degrees. It was originally set to negative 8 degrees Celsius. Write the symbolic expression that represents this problem. So he lowered the temperature by 15 degrees, but it was originally set to negative 8. So we're going to start with negative 8, and then lowering the temperature means we're going to subtract 15 degrees. Okay. So remember, these said to make sure to use subtraction statements even though addition applies. So this is how we're going to represent this. And then to compute our answer, so your answer would go in this spot. This is the same as negative 8 plus negative 15, which is negative 23 degrees. Okay. So notice, let's put these in different colors. This piece is your answer for the first part, and the final number is your answer for the second part. Let's look at the third one. Malayla's pool was filled 14 inches below the top of the pool. She drained the pool 12 inches. Write a symbolic expression using subtraction that represents this problem. Okay, and we're talking about the water level relative to the top of the pool. So it was initially 14 inches below the top of the pool, so that would be negative 14. And then she drained it 12 inches. So the draining, we're going to use subtraction, and we're going to subtract 12. Okay. So this is our symbolic representation. And then we'll compute our result. This is the same as negative 14 plus negative 12, which is negative 26 inches. So this is our final result. So that's the new water level relative to the top of the pool. It's 26 inches below the top of the pool. Okay. Something also to notice when you enter them in symbolic form, if you're entering a negative number in symbolic, remember it said to put it in parentheses. However, your final answers, when they're negative, you don't need to put those in parentheses. So we basically use these parentheses in the symbolic form so we don't confuse the sign of a number with an operation. So that's why we use them and why you need to include them in your symbolic representation. Now let's look at the last one. This one is the trickiest. Callie had negative $12 in her debit account. She returned an internet purchase and they removed a charge of $13 from her debit account. Write a symbolic expression using subtraction that represents this problem. So let's think. So she started with negative $12. So that first number is usually some sort of starting number. Okay. Now they've removed a charge of $13. So if you think of this, if they're going to take away a charge of $13 from your account, you know you're going to have 13 positive dollars added to your account. But how can we write this in terms of subtraction? So they removed, so we could think of that as subtracting And the charge of $13, well, that was negative. Okay, so they are taking away the negative $13, the $13 they had charged to your account. So this is our symbolic representation. And I like this one because first this is what we put in for our first answer. But it really shows, I think, the idea of why subtracting a negative is the same as adding the positive. So when we compute this, we'll rewrite this with addition. Negative 12, subtracting a negative is the same as adding 13, which means we'll have $1 in her account. Okay, so removing money that they had taken away is the same as adding that same amount of money.